Thanks for waking up, everybody. Morgan, there you are.
Hello, good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Well, relatively pretty good.
Yeah, I think new normal, right? New relative. So yeah, same here.
New relative, totally. Where are you right now?
I'm in Florida, in Boca Raton. So just hanging out at
Okay.
home.
So you can play in Boca, right?
No, not right now. Palm Beach County's golf courses are closed. So we've been closed for maybe a little over a month now.
Okay.
So uh,
Weren't there a few courses opening up in Florida?
I think they were more. I think some in Florida and other counties are still open and have been open the whole time. But Palm Beach County has been hit pretty hard, so they closed us a while back. I think Broward is closed. A few of the other areas around us as well. But I've heard
Right.
maybe some rumblings that we got a couple weeks and they might open us up. So we'll
Right.
see.
The phase one, I'm confident that it's going to happen. Maybe not in May, but I think the momentum is getting there, and I think people are realizing that golf is a safe sport.
Well, definitely. It's especially if everybody takes their own golf carts. And I know some places, even in California, that are reopening just with some more strict measures.
Right.
No guests, everybody in their own golf cart, no flags, all those different sorts of things to maintain your distance. And here we have two golf courses here at St. Andrews, but they've opened them for walking, which has actually taken. There's so many people out and walking, and so it's taken some pressure off the sidewalks to get people,
Right.
with the opportunity to walk the golf course. And why not just have a club in your hand? It's you can definitely keep your distance.
That's right. So I think, there's so many other things that are probably a bigger priority at the moment. Hard,
Yeah,
hard to
well,
think what's a
definitely.
bigger priority than golf. Um, but I think when we get a handle on the safety issue, my sense is that will be back, and then golf is going to be a sport that my theory is it's going to win. Golf is going to win ultimately in terms of a choice that people have, because it's definitely a safer sport than, say, something that you have to touch somebody else right off the bat.
For
So
sure, for sure. There's no need for touching, for you're not sweating on top of each other like in other sports, and
right.
don't have to train together like other team sports, things like that. So
that that's
golf definitely is an opportunity for a lot of people to get some fresh air and maybe clear the mind a little bit, get out of the house, but still maintain safe distance.
Yeah, that's right. And so, speaking of getting in the house, what's the LPGA doing? What's the latest on that? I know you have a kind of leadership role with the LPGA Tour. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not on the board anymore. So I had a 3-year stint a couple years ago. So I'm not totally in the know anymore, but I know that we're hoping to start up mid-June. And so just like everybody else, a wait and see game, trying to make the best of it. I'm fortunate here at home, I have a small gym, so I've still been able to work out. I've got a mat and a net out back. So, I can't sit there and hit balls into a net all day long, but definitely helps to get some reps in. And, sometimes when you don't have to worry about the results, you can really make real change too. So that's an interesting kind of different way to look at it, break down the golf swing a little bit more, and really try to make actual change, not worrying about what the result is per se.
Did everybody hear that, by the way? Where I'm going to highlight that. I couldn't agree more. Not worry about the result, i.e., you don't even see ball flight really if you're hitting into a net.
Right.
You were literally forced just to feel it.
Totally. And I don't have a TrackMan or anything like that. So I'm not, some people maybe who have that could get a little bit extra feedback, even though they're not seeing the golf ball. But, take video. I've got a small little tripod, take video, send it to Martin and, go back and forth a little bit that way. And just really try and grind feels. And I think, even if you don't have a net or you don't have a mat or anything like that, you take practice swings in front of a mirror. There's a lot of things that try and get different feels. Look at what you really want to accomplish in your golf swing. And this is a good time to really break it down and practice your short game. Practice some indoor putting.
By the way, you guys, I did not tell her to say that. This was coming from her.
That's funny. Are these our preaches right now? Practice your short game.
These are totally our preaches. And also like there's a major silver lining, because your ability to feel is so much heightened when you don't have all the other pressure of oh, there's water, oh, there's this for a certain score, you know, all these other things that go along with the game that you have to, you know, be able to handle. You don't have to deal with any of that if you're hitting inside or in a net or, you know,
for sure. I think that's a balance that players, coaches, all try to work on, is how do you make change, especially if it needs to be significant change, but still score. There's that balance, especially, you know, you might have a month or two in the off season to break something down, but at some point, you know, our job is to perform on the golf course. So usually there ends up being a balance between the change and the old swing, and sometimes you just got to throw that all out the window when you get on the golf course and just try and get the ball in the hole as fast as possible. So it's definitely different to not, I mean, we're all result oriented in general. That's kind of the nature of golf. But in this situation, we have that taken away from us. So maybe a silver lining. I don't know.
And now, relative to you specifically, so you're talking about making a big change. Making a big change takes some thinking. So it's disruptive. This is what I hear you saying, which I think we all probably felt to some degree. But you had a game really early on, i.e., like youngest major winner at the time. You know, youngest to get on the. You know, you were so young when you got an LPGA Tour. I mean, I think you were 17. You were. I mean, what were you? 18 years old when you won a major at the time. That was a record. I mean, it's still pretty. I mean, I like who is it? Lydia Ko, that like by a couple months or something, but whatever. That's young. You know, you played on not how many Solheim Cup? 6 Solheim Cup teams. So you've had a game. What I'm saying is, you've had a swing. You know, in theory, that's been good for the long run, and you've been a steady player for a long time. You know, you haven't flamed out. So, like, what are you actually changing? Like, how much are you changing? Why are you changing it if it's working? You know, where are you on that? Are you okay?
Yeah, no, Zoe barked. She doesn't do that very often. Yeah. But, you know, I've had ups and downs like anybody. I especially had struggled with a little bit of a wrist injury that really set me back a couple years ago. So, just really grinding to get back from that. I got my swing really into out, but just, I mean, there are so many things that I could go into detail in that really I was struggling with, mostly my ball striking. But at the end of the day, I just feel like one of my strengths on the golf course is grinding, you know, not giving up, not just going out there and playing with whatever I have that day. And it might not be perfect, and I might have to feel like I trap hook the ball to get it in play, but I'm going to do, you know, whatever I can to do that. And I've always been a player who's relied a lot on my short game. I don't necessarily practice my short game a ton. I don't mean that I don't practice, but I use a lot of feel and creativity to get around the greens. And I don't know. It was funny though. Martin posted a video yesterday. I got to repost it today about when I was on Golf Channel at 13. I think my swing looked better then. I want that golf swing back.
So I mean, obviously, you know who Martin is. If there's probably one person who doesn't know who you're referring to, and it's Martin Hall. That's been your longtime coach. He's such a great person. I have the pleasure of knowing him and his wife a little bit, and I like everything about him. And you, I want to say you're either lucky you discovered him early, or you were smart, or maybe a combination of both, or maybe, you know, someone introduced you. How did you meet Martin, and tell me about that relationship?
Yeah, it actually, goes back to when Martin first came to the States. He used to work here at St. Andrews Country Club, where I live here in South Florida. And so my grandfather got to know him as a member here. And eventually he left here and went to Ibis just up the road. And I definitely give so much credit to my grandfather for taking me up to Ibis and introducing me to Martin. And at a very young age, I mean, 10, 11 years old.
Wow.
Maybe even before then. I'm not exactly sure, but he was my grandfather raised my uncle to be a professional tennis player, Aaron Crickstein, and so
Right.
he knew how important even getting in great fundamentals at a young age is, and so I'm so grateful that at that age I had that kind of a mentor and a leader for my game. And he's just one of my best friends, and even still we talk just about every day. And we're both kind of like, what do we do? We're going crazy.
Yeah.
He's hitting golf balls in his simulator at home in his garage,
Yeah.
trying not to hit the ceiling. We're all just
Forever. That's
it's
so great. Well, how were you like, there are not a lot of 10, 11 year, no, I mean, obviously you're an athlete. We know you're not just you're not just able to do something, but you can actually do it under pressure. I mean, your points record on the Solheim Cup is really good. You're such a strong pick. You just get out there and do it, get it done. And I love what you said about, hey, you got to score even if you don't feel like your swing's together. That takes creativity and it takes athleticism. But like, going back, you're from an athletic family. Athleticism is probably in your blood to some degree, but you also had the wherewithal at 10, 11 to actually do it. Like, how'd that happen? You just wanted to do it?
I mean, I think that it's a balance, right? I always say that kids enjoy doing things that they're good at. And that helps them stick with something. And not to say that everybody starts out being really good at something, but people generally have a natural affinity more towards something, whether it be dance or music or athletics or whatever it might be. And I'm just such a competitive person that I'm sure I was as annoyingly competitive at 10 and 11 as I am now. So it's no matter what it was. And my mother also taught tennis. She was a tennis instructor. So I started playing tennis, basically by the time I could walk. Yeah. And then my grandfather said that I was too slow to play tennis. He could tell at 7 years old that I was not going to have success playing tennis. So he put a golf club in my hands, and here we are. How many years later? So maybe he knew what he was talking about.
Wow, what a cool story. So then you went out on the LPGA early. Like, one of either your followers or mine or someone asked a great question. It was like, so when you went out, the LPGA was a little different than the LPGA is right now. Like, what do you think would be, a couple of big differences of what?
I think from when I first started, I think the competition's stronger. It's a much more global tour. The competition is so deep. There's a huge list of players who could win any week, and we see that on tour. Some players that maybe the fans at home might not be too familiar with, but everybody out on tour knows that they're a threat. And we travel a lot more than we did when I first started, especially internationally. So things like that have definitely changed, but with that has grown our fan base as the LPGA, our purses, our tournaments, all of those things have certainly since I first started are on an upward trend, which is awesome.
Yeah, it certainly is. What do you think is your, at this point, probably too, you've got so many friends that just don't even live anywhere near you, but you see all the time. So that's got to be kind of a mobile family.
Oh, definitely. We all play in pretty much the same tournaments, give or take. And it is a family on the road. I even, actually today is Rock's birthday. So happy birthday to Rock, my caddy.
Your long-term caddy.
I was texting with him today. I go, it's been so long since I've seen you. I don't think we've ever gone this long in 12 years because he lives just up the road.
Yeah.
And so that's a little weird too. But yeah, to not be on the road and not, I mean, I've been keeping in touch with people, but it's definitely different because we're used to being together all the time. We travel together, we rent houses together, you know, whatever it might be, go to dinner, things like that. But definitely it is a family.
Yeah. What do you think when you, I was just going to say, like, when you had to look back at your years, what do you think was one of the most memorable wins or your accomplishment that you've had?
That's a good question. I'd say there's a lot. I mean, certainly winning a major is a huge accomplishment. Winning at Kapalua, that was my 2 tour wins. Winning in Japan, all the Solheim Cup teams that I've been on. I've had a lot of tremendous memories, and not all of them have been huge success either, I'd say. But definitely another one that's probably the biggest event celebration of the year is our foundation event. And that's has been something now, what was this, our 13th year?
Talk about that. Talk about the name of it and what you do with that.
Yeah, so it's, for those who don't know, it's the Morgan Pressel Foundation. It's a breast cancer charity based in memory of my mother, who passed away from breast cancer at the age of 44 when I was 15. And so everything that we've tried to do is to help those battling breast cancer, especially right here in South Florida where we live. It's with the tremendous help and support of the St. Andrews community here, my sponsors, my friends on tour who come to participate in a 2-day fundraiser here. And we have a mobile mammography van that's named after my mother. It has her picture on one side, which is really cool. One time I passed it on 95, you know, you're like, it's just.
You did? You're like,
yeah,
and it's pink. I mean, it's this giant pink, cool van. You can't miss it.
Yeah, so it's really neat. It goes into the community and provides the services of mammography to those who might be intimidated to go to the hospital or not have the time or whatever it might be. And then we also have a genetic testing center for those who are potentially predisposed to over 40 different types of cancers that they can test for now. So among a couple of other projects that we're doing, but that's definitely probably my life's work. So it's definitely very rewarding. And so those are some of the best memories. Take something that certainly was hard for our whole family, still is, and make the best of it.
And feel like you're doing something, you know, and you're doing something to make a difference in someone else's lives to avoid an unnecessary loss. I love that, Morgan, and I love that you're using your influence in your name for something so good. It's really honorable.
Thanks. So, I always say that if my mother was still alive, she would be working just as hard on this, you know, trying to help others. So I just trying to follow her legacy.
That's fantastic. So, all right, if we go back to, I'm just so obsessed with you in the Solheim Cup too, because you're so much fun to watch on there. So Rory McIlroy made a sort of gave his opinion about fans versus no fans. And he's like, you know what, skip it. If you don't have fans, skip it. I mean, I feel like the fans of the Ryder Cup, fans of the Solheim Cup, in some ways are like, they're the extra player out there with the momentum and the energy and that's a big part. What are your thoughts?
Oh, 100%. I agree with Rory on that. I mean, even when you watch it, you can see the electricity in the stands. I mean, I couldn't imagine playing teeing off on the first tee of the Solheim Cup without fans dressed in crazy costumes and chanting, and it would be very weird. And you know, other tournaments are different, so to speak. But when it comes down to Solheim Cup, Ryder Cup, anything like that, but
got fans, right?
I mean, I guess you could say the same for a football game. I don't know. I've never played in a football game, but I'd imagine that'd be very, very strange to play without fans too. So, because of the atmosphere that they create.
Yeah, no, you'll know who the team in Paris is, the soccer football team in Paris. I don't know the name, but I read this was an interesting article. It was in a New York Times probably about a month ago. They actually had a game with no fans in the stadium. And so when the players arrived in their buses, this was at night, there were hordes. This was before the quarantine kind of thing. Hordes of fans outside in trees with flames, banging on the bus. They escorted the bus for a half a mile into the stadium. The soccer players were glued to the windows. The coaches, no one had ever seen anything like that. And how moving is that to the players to know that they've got that much support, that people are going to break curfew and do it anyway?
Well, for sure. I mean, especially soccer fans. Soccer fans are very passionate. Very, 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 very passionate. Probably some of the most passionate fans in the world. So that's just crazy. And also, I mean, I think it's a very real possibility that we're going to see a lot of sports without fans here in when it starts back up. And I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure the players will still, give their all, but it will be interesting to see a different side of the sport, I guess.
Yeah. Waste management without fans.
Well, I mean, you can still see some good golf, right? But it's just not the same. So.
Yeah. But I think you're right. Well, I know you're right that we still want to see the sports. We still want to see the athletes. We still want to see that, we want that. This is a tricky one. This is a hard one. Okay. I've got some real easy questions for you that came in through your and my channels. Okay. What's your favorite golf course?
That's a good question. I don't know. I have so many favorites. I'd say probably my number one favorite that I've ever played is Kingsbarns in Scotland.
In Scotland?
Yeah, I loved it. We played the British Open there, I don't know, 4 years ago maybe. It was fabulous. I love that golf course. It's so beautiful.
I have played Kingsbarns, and it was the last. I did a loop around Scotland, and I played, I think, Crail and Nairn, these kind of really old school sheep and on the flat side, but just really kind of get a sense of what it was like, 100 years ago. And then Kingsbarns, and I felt like, wow, this is somewhat Americanized, but at the same time with a real nod to tradition.
It's a little bit of a mix for sure. It's got a little bit of both. It's definitely got the links feel. You're very exposed. Got to play the wind, but they move some earth, and it's a little bit more of a modern links golf course than right down the road at St. Andrews.
Yeah, go Scotland. All right, someone said, any tips about ball above the feet? I mean,
ball. I mean, that's the thing, right? You hit on the range all the time, and they're all flat lies, and you get on the golf course, and you got to kind of manipulate. I would usually choke down. Maybe take one more club so that you're not trying to swing too hard. Definitely, tempo is really, really important when you get on uneven lies. And the things that are challenging usually make us speed up. So when you can think to slow down a little bit, I think that's helpful too. So just maybe take one more club, choke it up, and swing within yourself.
Oh, I love that. I love that you just said we tend to speed up. What about distance control out of a bunker?
Practice. Practice. I'd say that watching the majority of amateurs that I've played with hit out of bunkers, most of them have poor technique. You don't say. Don't use the bounce of the club properly. So if you're using the leading edge, it's really, really hard to get distance control out of the bunker, to control your distance at all. It's really hard to get it out of the bunker if you're using the leading edge. So, make sure you're using the bounce of the club properly, and practice. Yeah. I don't have a great answer other than that.
That's interesting. I mean, to me, that tells me you've been doing this so much. actively tell yourself, okay, now I need to make a bigger backswing, or I need to speed up, or a fuller follow through, or take more sand or less sand. There's nothing specific. You're just like, okay, see flag, hit to flag.
Yeah, like I said, especially around the short game, and I would say bunkers probably is the thing that I practice the very least in terms of my short game. But I mean, when I was a kid, I used to like wish the ball would go in the bunker. You know, if I missed the green, like please go in the bunker, because I'm just more confident in that shot, and I don't necessarily have a reason why, but I feel quite comfortable for the most part. Sometimes the harder the bunker shot, the more I can get creative and come up with the shot.
You get fierce.
Yeah, it's a challenge, but it's a fun challenge. You know, and I say that I don't. When I say that I don't work on it that much, I'm a big believer in working on your weaknesses, which is why I spend a lot of time on the range, working on my full swing and things like that. And, you know, there are times when I certainly struggle with my chipping or things like that, and I'd practice that more. But I believe that, you know, don't just sit there and hit your favorite shot all day long. You know, you got to really work on your weaknesses, and that's the only way that you can improve.
Again, I couldn't have said it better. Thank you. Thank you. What's gosh, I love it. So let's see, I'm looking at some of these. Someone actually wrote, how do you get over bad shots? I think that's a great question, because you're going to hit bad shots. Everybody does.
I'd say that no matter what level you're playing on or what level your game is, you probably only hit 4 or 5 shots a day that you actually hit the way that you anticipated. Golf is really more a game of your misses. And I think realizing, I mean, and I'm saying this, and I'm not trying to say that I'm by any means perfect, because it's golf's as much as a mental game as it is a physical game, probably more so a mental game. But
to us, you're perfect, Morgan.
No, I mean, I think it's something that we all struggle with is, you know, you hit a bad shot, don't get down on yourself. And they sound so cliche, you know, forget about it, on to the next shot, but I think that comes back to the grinding, what we talked about earlier with play with what you got. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to get upset. I actually would say that I get more upset on the golf course if I make a mental mistake than if I make a physical mistake, because I make physical mistakes, and, you know, we all do. Not every swing is exactly the same or perfect, but the mental mistakes, that's when I really kick myself. Yeah. And so just, I mean, the shot is over with. Put it in the past. You know, you hit a bad shot. The only thing that you can do, I feel like you can do 2 things. One, you can analyze, what did I do wrong? How can I do it better the next time? As constructive analyzing of the shot. And then okay, how do I get the ball in the hole as fast as possible from here?
Right. You're getting over it quickly. You're moving on. You're trying to.
Yeah, you're trying as fast as possible. So.
Because you don't want it to cascade. I mean, I tell players, I like you to just take away the rear view mirror, you know, just dismantle it, because you can't go back. You know, you can process what happened. You can honor that you made a mistake. You can feel maybe a better swing right after. Take a post-shot swing, fix it right there, you know, obviously not hitting a ball, and then move on to the next. Because you never know.
I'm big on not compounding errors, or trying not to. So, you know, you hit a bad shot or made a mental mistake or whatever it might be, get the next ball in play, you know, make bogey, not double, those sorts of things.
Yeah, that's great.
Whenever I compound errors, that also bothers me.
Right. So now on the alternate side, when you're playing really well, and this was a comment or question by Paul, so people talk about the zone, being in the zone where you're at some kind of trance-like state where you're not really thinking, everything sort of slows down. I mean, everybody's described it differently. Is there some kind of zone for you? Have you felt it? Or are you just like, where are you? What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely. There are times when you're definitely in the zone. I'd say the last time I really felt like I was in the zone was on Sunday at the British Open this past year. And you know, it was a tough golf course, but I was like, okay, we got to birdie every hole. And it's not that I don't think that way other times, but it was just like, I was confident. Um, I felt like I could. And we just ended up running out of holes, but I tried. I tried my hardest. But yeah, it's not a science or something, but I think it comes down to confidence really more than anything. When players talk about being in that zone, I think it's they're confident. They're confident that they could pull off the shots that are called for no matter what the pressure is.
Now, this is one from Noah Miller. This is a great question. How do you fuel your body, you know, during the round? Like, are you eating Snickers bars?
No.
Water?
No, I'm not eating Snickers bars.
Do you have a program there or what?
Yeah, it's, you know, we spend a lot of time on the golf course. You know, I'm out there for 7 hours, let's say, you know, 5 hours of the round, a couple hours before, a little bit after. We play in a lot of heat. So I usually, I love those noon tablets. They're easy to put in your golf bag, stick in a water, maybe 1 out of every 4 or 5 waters. It's definitely very important to hydrate. I'm a big fan of RX bars for snacking on the golf course. They don't melt. They've got very clean ingredients. I will also maybe put together some rice cakes and almond butter, things like that. Bananas are very easy on the golf course. You know, you end up just with the nature of needing things that don't really melt, you end up with a lot of probably more fat heavy, but things that are low in sugar that don't give you a lot of
no
spikes. Exactly. And I try to eat, and the same thing too, I try to eat every, let's say, maybe 4 or 5 holes, eat something, you know, maybe I'll eat half of the RX bar now, and then the other half in 4 holes to spread out, but keep it close enough together to where you don't really want to ever get hungry on the golf course, because then your brain can't function properly.
Right.
You know,
by then it's too late. Like,
exactly. So I mean, I eat a good breakfast. I love, either have usually eggs in the morning, possibly some Greek yogurt, things like that. But yeah, I mean, I think, and then I love, I love food. So I enjoy going out to a nice dinner, you know, after the round. But
someone asked what your guilty food pleasure was when you're on the road, or maybe not on the road, maybe right now. What's your guilty food pleasure?
What's my guilty food pleasure? I don't know, probably wine. I consume too much of it. But you know, it's one of the great things that we have the opportunity to do in travel is I love to find the best restaurants wherever we go, wherever we play, and you know, go out for a nice dinner. That would be my idea of a treat. Something that I look forward to when we travel is finding the best local spots, and
now
and I'm definitely a foodie.
Has a wine label, right? Christy does.
Yeah.
So is she a foodie too? Or I know Paula's a good friend of yours. Do you guys join up and eat dinner together?
Yeah, we do. We go out. Christy's got her Kerr Sellers label, and she loves to cook. We all like to go out to eat together and you know, enjoy a glass of wine here or there, and like I said, we like to scout out the very best food that the area has to offer.
That must be fun, especially since you're traveling all over Asia too. So you must get some really interesting stuff.
Oh, definitely. We get a lot of cultural meals from all different cultures when we travel. But sometimes we still like to stake out or find out the best steakhouse, you know. Right. Good old American steakhouse. Sometimes when you're on the road for a long time is a nice taste of home too.
What's it like playing against? I don't know how many times you've been paired paired with Paula, but what's it like to play with a good friend?
Yeah, it's you know, it's really kind of similar to playing with. Hey, stop it! Come here, silly girl.
Is she jealous?
Sorry. I don't know if she hears something that she doesn't like, but Yeah, it's, we're all working together. Come here, sweetie. What's wrong? But yeah, I mean, we're all professionals. You all work together, and you're working your hardest on the golf course. And then, when you're done, you go and maybe enjoy dinner or whatever it might be. But it's always nice to be paired with your friends and have a relaxed atmosphere in the golf course. And it's okay, baby. Come here.
But your level of competitiveness doesn't change at all. I mean, you're still trying to win. You're not thinking about, I mean, it's golf. You're not thinking necessarily about beating someone. You're thinking about doing the best you can do. Am I right? Or is there some degree of?
I think that in golf, you're just, for the most part, playing the course, right? I mean, yes, you see a score in the lead and things like that, but you really are playing the golf course and trying to do the best that you can possibly do.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm sorry. This is so cute right now.
There she is, little princess. I don't know why she's been barking so much, but she does not like. She's not very cuddly. She doesn't like to be held, so I'm holding her against her will right now.
Doesn't know what's going on over here.
Say hi, Zoe.
Hi, Zoe.
Hi.
Hi, Zoe. You don't bring her on the road, do you, when you're playing?
Yeah, she does. She comes with me most of the time, unless we're traveling internationally for the most part. So
no problem on the plane.
It's fun. Oh no, she loves the plane. She loves to travel. She's there she is again. Yeah, she's really easy on the plane. Great in the airport. She's very friendly. She loves people.
Speaking of plane, didn't you get your golf club stolen on a plane after you won the Nabisco? Is that true?
Yeah, that is true.
How did that end up? Did you?
That was quite a bit of a mess. I just won out in the desert, and I flew out Monday morning. And when we landed in Palm Beach, my clubs weren't there. And actually, we landed in Fort Lauderdale Airport, and we'd connected. We had a connection, and it turns out that the bag got on the earlier connection flight somehow. Oh. And so it ended up sitting at the airport for apparently a little while, and somebody saw my name and snatched it. Oh. So that was a bit of a bummer. That was kind of like going from such a high to definitely a lot of disappointment. Right. But I mean, I've been with Callaway my whole career. They were great in getting me a replacement set as fast as possible. Right. And worked hard to find some of the clubs. We found the set kind of scattered in different places over time, pawn shops down here in South Florida and things like that. So
really,
it was a bit crazy, but just
that was amazing. So you have part of it back, but I mean, it's sort of sentimental too because you won your first major.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, it was such a high in winning, and then that having your club stolen the next day is just like you feel like your life's taken away from you.
Right.
It's
no, Callaway
it's pretty crazy.
Callaway's done really well with you. You've done well with Callaway. Someone asked, as a beginner, do you have any recommendations for a driver if they're not, in a position to get fitted for it?
I mean, it depends on a level of game as a beginner. I mean, that's one of the things about Callaway is they have product for a tour player or product for a junior who's just starting out and everybody in between. So you can't really go check out a golf shop right now, but maybe look into what's available on some websites and see what might work best for you, your strength. It's really hard not being fitted. I'm a big believer in getting fitted for clubs. I work really hard with Callaway to fine tune my clubs before they ever go in the bag. So I always equate it to, if you were to buy a ball gown or a man to buy a suit, you you wouldn't not have it tailored to fit your body, and everybody's body's different. It's very rare that you buy something off the rack and it fits you perfectly. So I think it's no different, probably even more intense with golf clubs. You know, I see a lot of people who do potentially buy off the rack. And even if you do buy something off the rack or a set of used clubs, you can still get them bent and things like that. Exactly. You can get what you have tweaked to work better for you. I hate seeing somebody who's got, you know, a really, really flat setup with a club that's way too upright for them, and, you know, wondering why the ball goes left all the time. I think it's really important. Everybody's swing is different. To, you know, not, what works for me might not work for others, and so.
And I would add, if you're a beginner, and if, let's say you're a female and you're a beginner, your club head speed's likely going to be on the slower side. So you're going to want something with a little more loft, maybe 12 and a half degrees, you know, at least 10 and a half degrees of loft. That's
I would say
the starting point.
Yeah, most people don't have enough loft, especially on the driver, I think. And I don't know if it's an ego thing that people want to say that they hit a, you know, 8-degree lofted driver, but, you know, just the club manufacturers usually bump that up, even though it has that number on the bottom of the club. It usually has more loft than you think. And it's, I think, definitely loft with the driver is really important. Get the ball in the air, get you more distance. If you're trying to hit a driver with not enough loft, you're gonna fighting yourself. So
that's right, especially if you hit down on it. So what are you playing in the bag right now? What kind of shafts? Steel, graphite, how stiff, flexible? What
I have steel. Yeah, I have steel shafts in my irons. They're nip-on regular flex. And I've played that shaft for a long time. I've got the Apex Pro irons in the bag. I've got...
Are those the 75-gram nip-on shafts?
The 95-gram, the 950s. The 95-gram shaft. And then I only go up to a 6-iron. I've never been a great long iron player, so I then switched to a hybrid. I've got a 5 hybrid. That's an Epic Flash hybrid with, you make me think about what shaft I have in there. It's a graphite. It's a I think it's a regular in the hybrid, and then it goes to a stiff. It's actually a stiff regular in my fairway woods, so it's in between the stiff and the regular, and then my driver is a stiff shaft.
So you go 5 hybrid, 4 hybrid. Then what? I
go 5 hybrid, then I have Epic Flash, 7 wood, 5 wood, and 3 wood, and then the Maverick driver.
7, 5, 3 wood. So you love your fairway woods.
I do like my fairway woods. I used to play in 11 wood like a really long time ago as a junior. You know, I feel like equipment's out there to help you, and why not put a club in your bag that helps you? At least it helps me. I've never been, like I said, a great long iron player. So my fairway woods, my hybrids have helped me have a lot of success. And instead of beating my head into the ground trying to hit a 5 or a 4 iron, that is definitely not my strength.
That someone asked how far you hit your driver.
I hit my driver. I carry it about like if I had to carry something, I'd go for a carry that's about 230, and, you know, depending on the roll, maybe 250.
That's good. Someone also asked how you gain club head speed.
Club head speed is a tough one. Strength. I think there's a few different ways that you can gain club head speed. One is definitely to get stronger. Another is to develop a more efficient golf swing. Timing in your golf swing. You know, you look at some of the players on tour with the highest club head speeds, they don't look like they're swinging that hard. And that's because they just have an efficient transition and body movement. And I think that also can really help you up your club head speed. And I mean, I think almost everything in golf comes down to core strength too. So, you know, having a good core takes a lot of pressure off your back. And I mean, even more than club head speed, helps you enjoy the game for a really long time.
Another one, Morgan. See, she said it. I didn't have to say it, everybody. It's not just me.
That's funny.
Yeah, man. So if you could put your arm over, and I'm sure you do this, some rookies on tour right now, some rookies that are coming on, and someone's looking up to you because you've been around the block. What kind of advice are you giving them?
Yeah, it's you know, the LPGA actually has a really neat program. We have a pod system where they pair up players who've been on tour for a while with rookies to kind of help them. I've gotten some tough questions from the rookies over the years. One of them asked me about taxes. I said, I don't know, hire a good accountant. I don't know. I'm not the person to ask about that.
Right, because you're winning in different countries. You got to pay. How are you going to pay tax on the country and then in the U.S.? Does that translate? It's
complicated. We have a very complicated tax return for sure. But you know, just I mean, for me as somebody who's been on tour for a long time, you know, just try and be there to answer whatever questions they might have, and try and find them the answers to questions that I might not know the answer to. And most importantly, you know, when you come out on tour, you don't know a lot of people. You probably have some friends who you grew up with in junior golf or college golf, whatever it might be, but you know, there's a lot of people on tour who might be intimidating to you or whatever it might be. So just kind of be a friend, be the person that they feel comfortable going to, and try to help them out. I mean, I was really lucky when I first was on tour. My big sister was Julie Inkster, and she's still my big sister. She never got out of that role. So
you are really lucky. She's a legend too.
Oh, she's the best.
So you've been traveling obviously a lot. I mean, this is what you know how to play golf courses all over the world. I often think that it's one thing to play at your own course. You know the texture of the sand, you know what to predict with the grass around the green, you know what the greens are like. It's a little harder when you go next door and play a course that has different grass, different sand. It's even harder when you go overseas and then you play grass you've never even seen. How do you manage that, and how do you deal with something that's so completely different on a week to week basis?
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason why. I mean, we play practice rounds. We, especially if we're traveling to Asia or whatever it might be, get there a few days early to get used to it, any time change that there might be, but also just get used to and even when we play around Asia, there are different grasses. You know, we might have, let's say, Pas Palam in Thailand and Zoysia in Japan, and it's a mix of things elsewhere. So, you know, just get there a little bit early enough to adjust. You know, I have a game, since I grew up here in South Florida, I have a game that is, you know, I don't run the ball that much. I've learned to do that over the years, but on Bermuda grass, you really don't ever play a bump and run. That's not a shot. You always have to fly the ball onto the green or whatever, because otherwise the Bermuda is just going to grab it. Very similar to Pas Palam. It's hard to judge the bounce, especially working with a lot of grain. So that's certainly how I feel most comfortable. But, you know, you get on a great bent grass green and it just looks like everything can go in, you know, so it's just so kind of part of what we do.
You don't blame the grass for being too tall. That's what I'm hearing. You're not
blame the grass for being too tall.
I hear that all the time. Someone comes in and they blame the fact that the grass is so, oh, it's the grass. I didn't have a good round. The greens were too slow. I don't hear that right now.
Yeah, no. I mean, you know, that's the thing about golf, right? We're all playing for the most part the same course in very similar conditions on the same day. So that excuse doesn't really work most of the time.
No, because you're not going to make any money either. So also, I think part of the skill that you've really honed in is the skill of adapting. It's part of the game. It's not just bring the swing that you had on the range or bring the swing that you grew up with. It's learn how to plug it in wherever you are under whatever conditions.
Yeah, I think that's the nature of what we do. Even through traveling, even through all of it, you kind of got to go with the flow, adapt, figure it out, and do the best you can.
Do the best you can. Okay, so you have a husband. Does he play golf?
Yeah, he does. He loves to play golf. He
All
misses
right.
playing golf right now.
He misses it. So someone asked, when you guys go play, how many shots do you give him?
No, we don't really play that competitive matches. I mean, he's a very good player. He's a scratch golfer, so he hits the ball a long way. Loves to play, but yeah, we don't really play competitively. If he wants to keep score, he goes and he plays with the boys. But I'm not a person who really keeps score in practice either. I like to practice. I like to play for practice, not play for score. The only time I really keep score, which might seem strange, is in a tournament. Other than that, I like the opportunity to drop another ball and hit another shot, try and correct what I want to. Like, I just like that flexibility. I'm not really a scorekeeper like that. So we don't really have those really competitive matches.
So when you amp yourself back up, and I'm going to let you go soon, so we're just sort of wrapping this up. But when you get yourself amped up to play, let's say you have your new date set, what are you going to do to get that edge again? Are you going to hit balls in the range, or are you going to go out on the golf course?
I think I spend a lot of time on the golf course. I like to hit balls, for a little bit, definitely warm up. I think warming up is very important. Get a good feel. And then, I mean, especially even during the off season, I don't ever take this much time away from the game in the sense of, playing. So it'll take a little bit of time to get out there, and hopefully our golf course is open, so we have that opportunity to get out and practice how I usually do. And
yeah, that's right.
Get some reps in.
Get some reps in. Do you have a bread and butter shot that you like, your go-to?
I mean, I guess I tend to hit a draw. I know. I'm trying to straighten that out a little bit, though. We're working on that.
I know there's some people that say, I mean, some camp would say, you know what, you got to be able to hit all of them. And there's some camps that say, you know what, I really want you to have just one shot, like, the Bruce Litsky, I just got one shot. I'm not going to bother with anything else. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
I'd say that for the most part, I hit one shot. I hit a slight draw. I'd say I have the opportunity to hit, or have the ability, I should say, to hit the other shot when needed. But I definitely, I see a draw in my head, when I'm standing behind the ball and am looking at the shot or trying to make my decision. I, for the most part, see a draw.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Morgan, so nice having you. I feel so lucky. We're all so lucky that we had this time, and you had the graciousness to come on. So thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for asking me. My very first Instagram live.
Yay!
Really breaking me in.
Yay! All right. Well, have a great rest of your week and month, and stay safe. And we're all rooting for you. We love you, Morgan.
Oh, I love you too. Thanks, Tro.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.